Hello everyone, welcome to Grady Newsource. I'm Eddie Newbert.
I'm Shelby Watson. Thank you for tuning in. We have a very special theme for tonight, solution journalism.
That's right, Shelby. Our stories tonight will focus on community issues and how people are coming together to create a positive change in their neighborhoods. A recent school shooting at Florida State University once again has everyone's eyes on the issue of guns. It's a topic that the Georgia Central Assembly tackled recently after the shooting at Appalachia High School that killed 2 teachers and 2 students. Newsource reporter Olivia Bontempo explains what has happened since that September 4th day, almost 1 year ago.
That's right, Eddie. I've covered Barrow County as one of their beat reporters all semester, and I've got to see firsthand how the community has been dealing with what happened at Appalachia High School on September 4th.
You can move on, but never forget.
Blue and gold ribbons, posters, and window paintings. Reminders of that day have lined the streets of downtown Winder, all in memory of the 4 lives that were lost at Appalachia High School.
And never forget those 4 people that gave their lives from a monster. I mean, you have to be able to memorialize those people and do things, make changes on behalf of them. 2 wonderful teachers, 2 beautiful children. You just can't forget them.
The school shooting at Appalachia High School last September prompted Georgia lawmakers to discuss whether Georgia's gun laws are enough.
The good thing nationally and in Georgia is that there has been an evolution in thinking on this. And even though it remains a pretty partisan, entrenched topic, that the more you see of these types of incidents and the closer they hit to home, and unfortunately everyone's going to have an incident that hits close to home, the more open we are to talking about it in a depoliticized way, because it just becomes obvious that this is untenable to keep living like this.
She says the conversations are easier these days.
There had been some openness, I thought, from the Republican legislature to finally look at what most people in the state actually want, which is just common sense gun safety reform.
Representative Michelle Au advocates for many issues, but one of her priorities is gun safety reform.
Even though I agree that red flag laws or extreme risk protection orders are a good type of gun safety legislation, they become a little bit more difficult to argue in a state like Georgia that has basically nothing on the books, because then you get into more legal arguments, right? So I want to try to choose like the cleanest types of bill to pass.
Although Al believes these type of red flag laws could be beneficial to Georgia, it might take some time before lawmakers are ready for those changes. But that doesn't mean standing still.
We can't do everything on this, but this bill is a great step forward to ensure the safety of our children, to protect them from this type of tragedy in the future. And I want to make sure that the lives of those lost at Appalachia are not lost in vain, that we prevent that from happening in the future.
For now, senators like Bill Cowsert have been working to pass legislation like House Bill 268, which focuses on providing schools with the proper threat management resources and works to address penalties for terroristic threats and acts on schools.
Obviously, we don't want to be remembered for Appalachia, but we will. And it's tough, but the good thing is there's conversations happening that otherwise would have never happened before.
Olivia Bontempo, Grady Newsource.
The Athens-Clarke County Police reported a 92% decrease in gang-related shootings from 2021 to 2024. They achieved this by adding 4 uniformed personnel to the gang unit, a second supervisor at lieutenant rank, and by focusing on the most prolific violent offenders. Despite the decrease, officers are keeping an eye out on one notorious gang. Alana Jacob is live in the studio to explain.
Thanks, guys. The gang is called Tren de Aragua, or TDA. In a recent proclamation, President Donald Trump labeled the gang as a foreign terrorist organization. You may have heard the name of the gang in relation to the murder of student Laken Riley.
You had the Ibarra brothers that we had federal partners assist us with their background, and we were able to confirm that they were truly part of TDA, but they also had the tattoos and the markings and things like that.
What Epps said wasn't the case with another arrest. This recent field report says that 2 men were arrested and charged with aggravated assault and determined to be in the United States illegally. The victim claimed that the men were associated with TDA, a gang the officer notes in the report is expanding to Athens.
This case that we're discussing, the aggravated assault, that was an allegation by a victim. And we still don't have any confirmed information that they're truly members of TDA. We do know their country of origin is Venezuela. We know that. We know that during this investigation that some of those individuals involved in that incident were not here legally.
But law enforcement everywhere is on the lookout. On March 15th, the White House addressed concerns about this gang. In Section 1 of this release, President Trump proclaimed the following message, quote, "I find and declare that TDA is perpetrating, attempting, and threatening an invasion of predatory incursion against the territory of the United States."
We haven't had a lot of violence. The Lake and Riley case called a lot of attention to TDA at that time. But we have other individuals in town that we assess are probably TDA gang members, but we have been unable to verify that.
That was Captain Aubrey Epps of the investigative unit in Athens, Clarke County. He also brought up the bigger issue of reducing gang violence and gang presence in Athens. He said they don't really focus on Hispanic gangs because there's a lot of consistent criminal activity. There's not a lot of consistent criminal activity from them, Instead, he said the hybrid youth gangs here have crime that's constantly changing. Epps said that we know that oftentimes young people are recruited into gangs at very young ages. They've seen ages as young as 8, 9, and 10 years old. And when it comes to finding better ways to keep young people from getting involved in street gangs, he said that's the million-dollar question. He admitted that there's still a lot to figure out. A study from the University of Illinois found that recreation like sports, arts, and music can be effective in preventing and intervening in youth gang involvement. It also stressed the importance of including former gang members in these programs to make them more effective. There's still a lot of work to be done regarding gang presence and public safety in Athens, but there are solutions out there, and the city is making an ongoing effort to decrease these dangers. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Ilana. The overhaul of Georgia's legal system, tort reform, was signed by Governor Brian Kemp today and is officially Georgia law. Supporters of the bill argue this will lower insurance rates and end frivolous lawsuits. But those who oppose it say it will be tougher for victims to seek justice. Reporter Tristan Bird has both sides of the story.
Even though this bill has its detractors,
I hope people understand that their justice has been taken away. And the majority of our House chamber and the Senate chamber voted to enrich the wealthiest companies that exist in our country.
supporters say the law will serve the public interest.
That nothing about Senate Bill 68 in any way should, would, or could operate to impair the victims of sex trafficking from being able to pursue whatever remedies they chose under Senate Bill 68.
This law will likely affect you and your family's rights to sue in a civil case. This includes restricting a lawyer from recommending how much money someone can get for pain and suffering, and giving a defendant more time to respond to a lawsuit if they have questions or need clarification on something. Florida passed tort reform 2 years ago, and some say they've yet to see an improvement in the insurance market.
What we've seen in 2 years is absolutely little to no impact on premiums. And what the legislators are being told is, oh, it'll happen, but it's never happened.
Shiloh Elliott, press secretary of the Florida Office of Insurance Regulation, tells a different story, saying they have received 36 filings for rate decreases and 63 filings for 0% rate increases. State Governor Brian Kemp says the bill needs to pass to stabilize insurance costs for businesses and consumers. Nothing in the bill includes any specific laws to directly lower insurance premiums. Ben Cowart of the Georgia Retailers Association says tort reform will lower insurance rates for businesses in Georgia.
From our standpoint, we're wanting to provide relief to businesses. We're wanting to provide clarity on when they're going to be held liable for stuff. And insurance premiums are an issue for our members. And what we think that providing that clarity within the law is going to bring some certainty to the market.
But Jordan Reed of the Georgia Trial Lawyers Association says otherwise.
To me, this never had anything to do with insurance, and we moved far past that. It had everything to do with whether or not people were going to be able to recover. I think there's going to be quite a few unintended or maybe intended consequences that, when seeing how it actually happens in real life, people are going to go, no, this wasn't right.
Tristan Bird, Grady Newsource.
Madison County has people waiting in jail while the North Judicial Circuit struggles to find and hire prosecutors. Our very own anchor, Eddie Newbert, has the story.
I think the COVID lag definitely affected it, but other courts have managed to crawl out of that.
According to the Sixth Amendment of the Constitution, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial. But what defines as speedy?
Those people end up sitting here sometimes over a year, 2 to 3 years, waiting on a trial date.
Todd Higdon, chairman of the board in Madison County, further reinforces this claim.
I want to say we was like 2,600 cases behind. And this is pretty well routine throughout the state of Georgia. Well, 2,600 people, that's a lot of cases. In this county, I mean, that's probably 10% of the population.
And he's right. Madison County has a population of just under 33,000, but even when cases are closed, it doesn't stop.
We get, a bunch of cases resolved, and then there's a bunch more coming in, so it's like never ending.
Georgia's Governor, Brian Kemp, has allocated $110 million in Federal American Rescue Plan Act funds to address backlogs of court cases. And for some counties, this has worked. Gwinnett, Georgia, secured a $2 million grant in 2023 and now claims there is no case backload. It's a different story in Madison County.
There's been no allocations from the state or feds for any type of funding for that.
The lack of funding matters.
Right now we have 3 prosecutors. We just lost one to Athens Clarke County's office, and we are currently trying to hire a couple more.
But it's tough, especially when competing with bigger cities and bigger budgets.
People want to make more money, right? So if you got an offer and one offers $15,000 more, it's hard to turn that down. Very few people will turn that down.
Until then, Sherilyn Bell, Jimmy Patton, Todd Higdon, and Jeff Lee will do their best to do the job.
You do it because when you see the look on, let's say, a victim's face when, hey, maybe somebody didn't believe them in the past when they reported something, but 12 jurors unanimously believed you're telling the truth. That's a powerful feeling for somebody.
Eddie Newbert, Grady Newsource.
Thank you for that, Eddie. I didn't know people were having to wait for trial that long. Interesting reporting, and we've got more on the way.
That's right, Shelby. I've been working on that for a long time. When we come back, Alana Jacob will be with our Jackson County beat reporters, Gunter Schroeder and Ion Bakley, to hear more about the solutions the 4th fastest growing county in the country are using to combat their issues. Don't go anywhere.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too...
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew. A girl so smart, so responsible. She must be a keeper.
A lot of people say, when you're going somewhere, you don't want to look back. But I beg to differ. For her to see her father celebrate his graduation, it's the best feeling in the world. I can't lie and say it was easy. But sometimes you just have to stop everything and take it in. I looked at everything in a different light. And I realized it started with me going back and getting my high school diploma.
I'm going to throw it over to Alana Jacob. Alana?
Hey guys, welcome back. In Jackson, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties. We're now joined in the studio with Jackson County beat reporters who have covered Jackson County all semester, Gunter Schroeder and Ion Bakley. Welcome guys. Gunter, we'll start with you. There's been a lot of data about the agricultural industry taking a hit in the county. What have you been hearing from the locals?
Yeah, there's been a big issue with available farmland in particular. In fact, the county lost over 8,000 acres of farms between 2017 and 2022. That was about 13% of the total land as well. So much of the land has been turned into subdivisions because they're trying to accommodate all the people moving there. But officials have been working very hard on using new facilities as well as some farming-focused neighborhoods to try to address the problem.
For much of its 229 years, most of Jackson County looked like this. And like much of the state of Georgia, agriculture was king. But over the last 40 years, the county has tripled in population, and its growth rate is the 4th fastest in the country. Kane Thurman's ancestors were one of the founding families in Jackson County in 1796. Farming has been in his family ever since. But now that the growth has made county land values skyrocket, making it more difficult to afford to farm full-time due to taxes, Thurman took to the stage as part of the American Farm Bureau Federation's national discussion meet, where he was runner-up. In the process, he educated many others about the county's unique issues.
Jackson County lost 13% of its farms between 2017 and 2022. When we look at the size of those farms, it's anywhere, the largest loss of farms is between 50 and 180 acres.
Much of that land is being used for housing developments. But why are people selling? In the eyes of County Chairman Marty Clark, a lifelong farmer himself, not as many young people have the same passion for farming here as they once did.
And you just got to have a passion for it. If you don't have a passion for it, then you're not going to do well. So you're not going to make what you potentially could on that land. So when you in an area like this and get that kind of offer, I mean, I can't blame them.
So how do officials inspire passion among county youth for farming? It starts here at the Jackson County Agricultural Facility. Opened in 2020, the space serves many uses, but it also educates and engages the next generation with Jackson County agriculture.
Generally, you're rewarded for hard work and diligence and conscientiousness. And those are things I learned in agriculture.
And for younger people that are involved, like Johnson O'Neill, a middle school student who helps out on 05 farms with his parents and siblings, those same benefits continue to be worthwhile.
I just know how to fix a bunch of stuff and just how to take care of animals and just honestly common sense and life lessons.
For now, county public development is mostly focused toward agricultural neighborhoods, or agrihoods for short, that prioritize both space for farming and community development.
You have a lot of people that do move here and they want to do the hobby farms, right? We're always going to have that trend. But you coming in with the yard chickens or the bees or the show goat or whatever doesn't fit in every neighborhood, and this gives them a channel to do that.
Whether it be providing places to get involved or creating new living spaces that match the fabric of the county, officials are making sure they're listening to locals. And for the many farmers that remain, many of them maintain they aren't going anywhere.
What makes this place a good place to live is the mix of urban, suburban, and agrarian rural life. We can't get rid of that. We cannot get rid of rural America. We can't get rid of the rolling hills. We can't get rid of the cattle pastures.
Gunter Schroeder, Grady Newsource.
Yeah, well, as you can see, population growth has been happening here for quite a while, but I don't really think anyone could have predicted the speed of that growth to be 5.5% year over year like it has been. So to get a sense of what the county is trying to balance, the people I've been speaking to, they've been saying to communities like nearby Gwinnett County, they've been making that as an example where many of the area's new residents are actually coming from, as kind of an example that they actually don't want to follow, because the last thing people here really want is for Jackson County to just kind of become another urban sprawl county near Atlanta like we've seen, particularly north of Atlanta, and preserving rural lifestyles is really kind of their priority and an important topic here for a long time as well.
Yeah, and Ion, with you, with the population growth in Jackson County, a lot of locals have experienced aging roads and overcrowded schools. But there are some improvements on the way. What do you have to say?
And recently we saw that with the East Plus being renewed for another 5 years, and then a 9-figure bond that has 3 new schools on the way, and now local officials are also trying to get the T-Plus on the ballot for the November 4th. So that could alleviate some of the issues that the county is facing.
Growth is visible at every turn. The signs are everywhere. New homes, busy roads, expanding businesses, and new schools. The 4th fastest growing county in the nation means opportunity, but not without obstacles.
Our biggest issues are primarily in the West Jackson area, just because we're having such tremendous growth in that area and trying to address, transportation, housing, infrastructure.
To manage the growing population, the county developed an Urban Redevelopment Plan, or a URP, a state-mandated framework aimed at long-term infrastructure planning for the county.
We're required to, put together different kind of planning documents, just like being in a urbanized area.
But even County Manager Kevin Poe admits the plan doesn't always guide daily decisions.
I'll be honest with you, we do not refer to that document a lot. We probably refer to our zoning documents more than anything.
Those challenges with planning and execution are noticeable.
Very quickly, West Jackson Elementary became overcrowded, and the traffic at drop-off was just terrible.
Jameson Dove, Jackson County's public development director, says the URP works hand in hand with Jackson County's 30-year comprehensive plan.
Right now, we're working off of a map that looks like what 2055 looks like for us.
Though there is a plan, county officials say that they need help paying for it. This November, Jackson County will try to put a T-SPLOST, the transportation SPLOST, on the November 4th ballot.
If you have all 9 cities on board, you get to do a tax for up to 1% and for 6 years.
The T-SPLOST would generate around $200 million for projects like road widening, bridge repairs, and sidewalk expansions.
Our SPLOST budget, our 6-year SPLOST budget only includes about $30 million for road improvements, and we've determined there's a need for at least $200 million worth of improvements.
County leaders say the T-SPLOST could help fast-track projects that would otherwise take not only years, but decades to finish. But it's not just about building, it's about balance. That balance is something that the URP was designed to protect, keeping Jackson County's rural infrastructure in place while welcoming new residents and businesses.
Our last comp plan committee that we had, we invited 30 people to be a part of that because we wanted to be representative of our growth.
The renewal of the E-SPLOST and the passing of a $200 million bond for 3 new schools would allow the county to balance the growth.
The one thing we want to do is have equity in all of our schools. We don't want to have a high school with 1,800 kids and another with 900.
For Jackson County, the question isn't if growth will happen. It's how to grow smart and whether voters are willing to pay for the future they want. For Grady Newsource, I'm Ion Bakley.
Thanks, guys, for those updates. After the break, we have an interesting story about Georgia residents sharing concerns on a rumored industrial plant dumping waste into the Broad River. Don't go anywhere.
During high school, I hung with the wrong crowd and I never graduated.
I helped Santiago in many different ways, like all fathers do, because he always wanted to go to college.
I felt a little embarrassed to come back to school, but eventually, once I came here, I knew that it's for a bigger goal.
He was very dedicated, hardworking. He connected with his teachers. He connected with other students. That was one of the key reasons why he was able to keep forging ahead.
It was amazing to see him graduate. This was one thing that meant so much to him, and of course, it meant so much to us too.
With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed. That support is everything.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Talk of a chicken rendering plant in Franklin Springs has captivated residents along the Broad River.
That's right, 6 counties, including Madison, have joined together to fight that possibility. Their concern, harming one of Georgia's cleanest waterways. Grady Newsource reporter Jack Keys has the story.
At Franklin Springs City Hall, hundreds gather. They want to be heard.
They may assume that negatives are true.
And they want answers.
There's so much confusion, so much deception, and it just keeps going on and on.
And one person should not be allowed to make a decision that's going to impact everybody within the community.
A few weeks ago, we reported on a string of emails from 2024 that show conversations between Franklin Springs officials and Pilgrim's Pride, the second largest chicken processor in the country. The emails discussed the potential for a rendering plant that would use the city's new wastewater management site, dumping waste into the Broad River.
Where this rendering plant is planned in Franklin Springs is going to dump their wastewater. It's going to come right down through Madison County.
But Franklin Springs Mayor Lee Moore reiterates,
as stated last month, the City of Franklin Springs has not signed any contracts or agreements with Pilgrim's Pride.
The mayor previously said that he would be open to a chicken rendering plant, especially since Franklin County ranks near the top of the poultry production food chain.
Franklin County is the largest chicken producer in the state of Georgia, and we're proud of that.
He also says he doesn't want to introduce anything detrimental to the city of Franklin Springs.
And I'm not opposed to a pet food ingredient plant or a rendering plant that's built the correct way.
But plenty stand in opposition.
I guess your definition of detrimental is different from mine.
At last week's city council meeting, Moore refused to answer questions specifically about Pilgrim's Pride and did not denounce plans for the creation of a plant. Only Franklin Springs residents were allowed to make public comment.
So we cannot speak to rendering or Pilgrim's Pride, either one.
I mean, you can speak, but I mean, we're not going to answer.
In a packed meeting, emotions ran high.
One more outburst, I'm going to have you escorted out.
Pilgrim's Pride tried to build a plant in neighboring Carnesville back in 2021, but failed in large part due to public backlash. Now in 2025, thousands downstream are uniting to find a solution to keep the Broad River pristine.
I feel the EPD is going to have to be involved in it.
And ultimately it's going to come down to looking at organizations and governing bodies like the EPD to ensure that their requirements are fully met.
6 counties located along the Broad River have co-signed a resolution urging Georgia's Environmental Protection Division to intervene and shut down any plans to construct a plant. Madison County BOC Chairman Todd Higdon says he's confident the EPD will intervene, but understands the resolutions can only help so much in fighting a company as large as Pilgrim's Pride.
Collectively, all 6 of us counties together couldn't pull our total budgets together and fight them in court.
So I spoke with an EPD representative earlier today who told me that the EPD is well aware of the ongoing situation in Franklin Springs. In fact, they get calls about it nearly every day, but they can't formally pass judgment because no plant has been officially proposed. I also reached out to Pilgrim's Pride multiple times for comment, but did not receive a response. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Jack. Coming up, how one organization is fighting food insecurity.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college.
Jack, you were naked on
learn new
TV.
instruments.
It somehow
Start
took your shirt
skateboarding. Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back. Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org.
According to Feeding of America, as of 2022, there are 21,590 food insecure people in Athens-Clarke County. One local nonprofit aims to decrease that number.
Grady Newsource reporter Rachel Sandstrom has more on the story.
And really where Concrete Jungle comes in is bridging that gap to get fresh produce to people. You don't want to donate anything that we wouldn't want to eat, so it's like we say donations with dignity. It's really high quality produce.
Shawanda Johnson is the Winterville neighborhood leader. Her job is to receive excess produce from TOW and distribute it to people in need.
Be able to pay your bills, let me help you with the food part. So, the healthier food part.
Johnson provides food to people like Gloria Couch, who lost her husband a year ago and is living off of Social Security.
I don't have enough money to go to the grocery store as high as groceries are today. So I have to find the food banks in my community to help me during the month.
Karen Lane struggles with stomach issues and is hard-pressed to find fresh produce at a reasonable price. So she comes to Johnson's Free Market most weeks.
I have something called gastroparesis. So my stomach is paralyzed and non-functional, which means when your stomach moves things along and digests them, my stomach does not. So being able to get fresh fruits and vegetables, I can modify it in a way that my body can take it in and can absorb it and can give my body the nutrients and the boost that it needs.
Gwen Littleton is the Stroud neighborhood leader and receives produce from Concrete Jungle and distributes them to people in neighborhoods like this one.
But now, with, in this day and time, that you can get a good meal on your table.
Lauren Tao fosters relationships with growers like Dennis Mason and Eleanor Walker to provide over 35,000 pounds of fresh produce to the Athens community and beyond.
And Eleanor had run across Lauren at an herbal group meeting, and then we happened to be at the same music at a friend's music place. And we just had a great time, and we liked each other right away.
With such a high turnover rate of volunteers and farmers, it can be difficult to receive a steady flow of produce.
It's an opportunity for us. Without the food bank and without Community Kitchen and without Lauren and Concrete Jungle, we couldn't do this.
Yeah.
We're not just providing food for food insecure families and individuals. We are providing kind of this space for people to experience something that they've not experienced before.
For UGA ecology student Sienna Slater, Concrete Jungle does exactly that.
We talk with the farmers and gardeners, and then we help harvest vegetables and fruit.
Melissa Steele owns Little Rose Farm in Watkinsville, Georgia, and enjoyed working with Concrete Jungle for the first time on Saturday, April 12th.
Like 2 of the girls screwed in the boards to the new she shed, and they had never used a screwdriver in their life.
If you want to get involved, make sure to visit the Concrete Jungle website or Instagram for more information.
Yeah, we love to eat, and it's a bounty. It's a richness of life that's not about money, and to be able to share that is really special.
Yeah, because fresh food is really special.
I'm Rachel Sandstrom with Grady Newsource.
Thank you, Rachel. That's all we have for tonight's Solutions Journalism Show, but stay tuned.
Because this Wednesday we will have much more stories for you. I'm Eddie the Tank Newbert.
And I'm Shelby Watson. Thank you for watching.
Julie was always a voracious reader. She carried 2 novels on an airplane because she'd read one on a 3-4 hour ride. And at some point, I began to notice that she would read a page and couldn't remember what she had just read, and she'd have to go back and read it again.
I don't remember much these days after I read, but less does for me, and I love it.
Hey world, I have a quick message. It's about safe driving. All right, let's go. Anytime you're driving, have the seatbelt buckled tight. Both hands on the wheel and your phone out of sight. When not in your hand trying to text somebody back. Because if you do, your car might get smacked. The moral of the story, just put your phone down. The people on the road will stay safe and sound. Put your phone down, put your phone down. People on the road will stay safe and sound. Yeah.
Thank you. Y'all are great. Wonderful. I'll come on the side.
We're live. Oh, we're live. Okay, thank you. Thank you for joining us today for this special show, the Solutions Journalism Show. And we have a special guest today, a Grady grad, a Newsource grad, Sophia Danner-Okote. She's worked as a reporter, a television news reporter, and then she started her own business, and she's just doing all kinds of things, and she joins us now to critique our broadcast. And Sophia, I cannot thank you enough for being here. It's all you.
A wonderful job. So give yourselves a hand, because I think overall, like the calmness before the show, surprisingly, everyone seemed to be really together, and you all seem to really understand what you're doing. So really good job to your producers. Excellent, excellent. I did take some notes and I wanted to go over them with y'all. I think that Alana, was it Alana? You had the story, and remind me what your story was again.
It was a gang, the general idea was gang presence in Athens County, but I talked about one specific gang due to a recent news.
Yes, yes, yes. Because you said something there, and I love the way you wrote into this. You said, you might remember Lake and Riley. And I think that pulled me in immediately. Like, okay, yes, I do remember her because, I mean, when you were talking about, y'all had some tough stories, by the way, really, really tough stories. But when you added tidbits like that, it made me really, really interested. And I thought it was really good. I love the way you speak. I love your voice. I think with you, I would just say, just own it, girl. Like, more confidence. You look great on camera. You enunciate very well. Just like really believe that you are that girl. Okay. Yeah, yeah. What did you think about her story, Dodie? I hope I'm not going to be talking the whole time.
Yes, you are.
Oh, really? I can do that too.
They're sick of hearing from me, I assure you.
Oh, gosh. And you're going to be hearing her voice in your head for the rest of your life. I'm like, what? I graduated? Sorry. 2013, I graduated, and I still hear her voice. So you have a gem with you. So Trish, the insurance story, right? I thought that it was really good. We talked about it. I think that the only thing was the sound bites were very long. Yeah, it was, some of them I feel like could have been shorter. I think that the great soundbite from the Florida angle, really, really important to get another state that's already, you know, doing this, and to hear that, hey, it's not working for us over here, and then from somebody else to say it is kind of working for us. I did see a lot of graphics, I think, and I would have liked to see more video. If we're talking about insurance, we're talking about all kinds of insurance, right? We're talking about car insurance, talking about house insurance, and things like that. Just getting cars on the road, just driving, I think would have been more effective to communicate the insurance angle than maybe some of the graphics that you had. But overall, like a really tough story to try to get people to pay attention to, and I think you did a good job with it. Yeah. Eddie, where's Eddie? Nice, okay, yes. Eddie. But what defines a speedy trial? I love that you put that in there. And I mean, that to me was the most interesting story, as in from a viewer's perspective for me, because I'm like, really, people aren't getting trials as like, what's going on? And I love that you kind of took the time to ask some of the questions that a viewer would be asking, and then you answered it with a soundbite. That was really, really good. Yeah, so kudos to you on that. Oh, did she? Yeah, that sounds like something she would make, yeah.
Say something nice because we're close to Grady.
Yeah. It was good. Your sound bites were pretty short. They weren't like really long. I felt like the story was straight to the point. Yeah, and I know that you've got 3-minute long stories on some, but honestly, like shorter stories. How long was yours?
I think it was just 19 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, it was just straight to the point. I think that it didn't need to be longer than that. Yeah? Gunther. Yes, Gunther used natural sound. Oh, y'all don't understand. Like, natural sound really pulls the viewers in. I know, like, you do want to make sure you're telling your story, but your viewers are having an experience as well. And, you know, we talked about this, the natural sound of, I think it was like a hammer or a drill, that pulled me in. And it made me listen to what you had to say. And the only feedback I had was I wanted to hear more natural sound from the farm. It's a farm story, so you could have had a little bit of fun with it. I know that it's, you know, it's about the town growing, or is it the county growing and losing farmland? But like, you had sheep and goat and things like that. it would have been an opportunity to just have a little bit of fun with it. But overall, really, really, really good. Oh yeah, you added a great, you added the student in there. I thought he was great. Yeah.
I think, here, I'll pick this up. It was the first time I had interviewed someone like that wasn't an adult the whole semester, so that was finding the right questions to get like the answers you're looking for was like a unique challenge, I think, for this story for me. But I thought he outlined like what he liked about living on a farm pretty well, and like what it's taught him, because I feel like that's part of it, is like educating people about agriculture might prevent them from selling land if they have it in the future, was part of that.
So I want you to think like, what would it have been like if you kind of centered the story around him? Because him and the other man that you had were your best characters. And sometimes when you have good characters, like, we want to hear more from them. And the guy in the beginning, I know like chronologically maybe it sounded fine to have that man, but he was kind of boring to me. And of course he had great stuff to say, but the kid that was on the farm, I would have followed him for like 30 minutes. Show me what you do around here. Let me see. And then written kind of your story around him. Even if you just had him at the beginning and then tied him in at the end, I think that it would have been a lot more interesting that way. Okay, Ayan? Yes. Okay, good writing to video, I did say that, because I love that when you started the video, you talked about, the signs, things are, I guess, shifting in this city. Even the signs are showing it, and you showed for sale signs of houses. I love that, and I saw that you kind of tied that in at the end. I'm not sure if you did that on purpose. Good job. Good job. For those who love storytelling, like, we notice things like that, and to me, it's kudos. I think you had a very tough story to tell, but I think that you did it well. I love that you put in a stand-up, which I think 2 people did a stand-up. It was Ayan and Rachel, I think. Who else did a stand-up? Just them. And this is your opportunity to do stand-ups, y'all. Like, you've got to just test it out. People want to see you, and it's not you being a narcissist. They want to see, they actually care about you, and you'll notice people will start noticing you. And, sometimes you need things to make you feel good about this business, because it is a hard business, so I'm glad that you did that stand-up. I think that usually I'm like, well, if you're doing a stand-up, let's be active. So I want you to think of ways that you could be more active or hold something or do something in your stand-up, but yeah.
So in a story like that, what would you do as a stand-up? Because I was trying to think, I don't want to go something too crazy, because it is kind of a serious topic. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to go too creative and then kind of take away from the story. So how would you put another stand-up?
I mean, a lot of your story, especially when I think of the signs that you had in the beginning, I wonder if there's something that, even pointing to a sign, could have been something that you do that's different. So if you take some time to actually think about it, you will come up with something active. But what I realized when I was in Newsource is I never actually took time to think about my stand-ups. I was like, got to get the story done, and we just got to drop it. But stand-ups are an active thought process, and it should not be last minute. Yeah. But good job. That was a hard story to tell, and I think you did well. Okay. Jack Keys. Excellent. Oh my gosh. I mean, from the beginning, the way you wrote in, I just love the writing. I think that you kept the story going. The signs at the beginning, of them holding the signs, to the sound bites, hearing from people matters. And, I know that we want to hear the professionals and we want to hear the experts, but at the end of the day, they're not as cool as like regular people who are not scared to lose their jobs. Like they're just saying whatever they want to say on camera. And I think that, you know, you even covered some of the beef that they were having with each other at the, a town hall meeting. You covered a town hall meeting very well. And most people are like, town hall meetings are kind of boring. This one was spicy, but like the way you wrote into some of the feuds that they were having, I thought was really, really good. Only thing is I would have wanted you to have a stand-up. Yeah, I think it would have been an opportunity to just grab one of those signs and be like, these are the ways, you know, people are, you know, showing that they're really annoyed with what's happening here. But overall, really, really solid job. You sound confident. You look great on camera. I know your shirt was kind of like doing that thing. So just keep that in mind. But I don't know how long you've been working on that story, but do you want to talk about it?
It's been in development over the last couple of weeks. We did a preliminary story for the Madison County meeting, which was on April 2nd. And today we stand, you know, April 21st, 2020, right? So it's been developing over a couple weeks, I would say. But yeah, this was the Franklin Springs meeting where the plant is allegedly going to be. So naturally, there was a massive crowd for this city hall. So we took advantage of it.
Did you have a hard time getting any of them to talk to you? Like the people?
Both events I've been to, I mean, I've had trouble the entire semester. We've all had trouble getting in touch with sources. I had to stop accepting sources at one point just because so many people wanted to speak with me and give their perspective, because this is something that people really, really care about in Northeast Georgia, especially in those counties that I mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this was just one story where it worked out that people were really willing and you know, wanted to talk to me. I didn't really have to seek out any sources, so that was helpful.
Can I ask, because I mean, you just said this, like, are y'all having a really hard time getting people, like humans, regular people, to speak to you?
I was less so now. And I could probably speak for everybody in here that we all had one hiccup or two hiccups to start the semester, but it's a pretty seamless process for most of us getting in touch with people, I would say, right? I think so.
Okay.
We've got.
I emailed him. I can't speak for somebody else in the room, but he contacts me before I interview every time I email him. But he's MIA with other people. But
yeah.
I've interviewed him 3 times now this semester, and he knows me. He knows what I want to do after college. I guess like when I email him, he's like, "Hey, let me understand. I'll leave."
Yeah, even if you have like if one person in here has it good with someone, like it's okay to be like, hey, I'm gonna send, you know, Ion to come and speak to you today. I'm a bit busy. Like, you gotta help each other out in the newsroom. It's not a competition. Y'all really have to make sure that you are like working well with each other. And it seems like you already have that going on. So, Rachel, it's a really fun story that you had. And I really think that you did a great job with showing all of the aspects of it, because there were a lot of things going on. It was the farmers, then it was the people who were, actually getting the supplies, and a lot. And we talked about this, the lady in the car.
That was iconic.
Okay, that's good. She literally, I was telling Kendra, I was like, that wasn't even my idea. She was like, because I was like, I need to kind of take a video of you kind of in your environment, but like it was a Sunday, so like she wasn't really doing work, and so she was like, come in my car, I'm gonna take you around to the neighborhood.
It was so good.
That was great.
It was so, I mean, even, I think you asked, like, is she in a car with her? Like, girl, like, people should be asking those kinds of questions. Like, how did that happen? And that's the power of video. Yeah, she used to always tell us this, power of video, just use the power of video. I wanted you to do a stand-up as well. I know it was a stand-up, but I wanted you to be more active with your stand-up. Like you had produce, you had farmland, you had all of this, it's okay to, be a little more active. You were gonna say?
I did that stand-up today, and over like the course of like last week, I went to a ton of different like events that they were doing, and so I took a ton of video, talked to a ton of people, and then after I was like, I should have done a stand-up while I was there. But at that point, I hadn't had like my script written yet. But after I was like, I ate vegetables while I was there. They were like, here, try this, try this. And I was like, I should have taken a video of me like eating it.
Yes, why not? Those kinds of stories, you can have fun with them a little bit. And I know they want like reporters to be very, very serious, but people know when you're being serious and also kind of having a little bit of fun. They'll still take you seriously, and it makes you stand out. Yeah, but all of y'all, first of all, had very, very hard stories to tell, and I think that I understood every single one of them, and that's what matters. As long as people understand, even when we talked about, what is a tort, reform, what does that mean? I think you went in and you really tried to explain that a bit for the anchors. That's good. Like most people are like, was it 5th grade education? So you got to bring them up to speed. So you all, wonderful, wonderful job. And of course, my anchors. Where are my anchors? Oh, yes. You kept it moving. You kept it going. I understood everything that you said. You were confident. I always tell girls, like, ladies, just remember you are that girl. You are on the camera and like, it's not going anywhere. You cannot hide from it. You are there now. And so even if you gotta talk to yourself before you get on camera to just like, I am that girl, that's what you have to do, to show up. Yeah. Wonderful job. I think we were a bit worried about your hair being in your face, but I think it. But yeah, I do want to know, like, how did you all feel with each other, though? Like, did you feel? Because I wanted to see a little more, like, chemistry.
With the story here, I was very tentative to even, I had to do something stupid at the end of the show, but I was tentative to do anything crazy because it's like, it was all like really serious stuff, and sort of important things. So it's just, I'm still getting, I was only my 3rd time doing that, so anchoring at least, and I'm just still getting my bearings on like, how to be comfortable and relaxed, but also serious at the same time, so, like treating the stories like, yeah, here's this, and then after that,
Yeah. Are you a sports guy? Yeah, okay. Just very honest.
To breaks. I mean, I definitely had that in mind. It's like I think Eddie, it would have been fun to like banter with Eddie, but going into stories about people like their stomachs can't move their food properly, and people are waiting in jail like for trial for so long. It's like I was nervous to do anything. I don't know. Also, someone, was it DeAndre that kept yelling at me to uncross my arms? I never had my hands crossed. No, I was not. I literally just went back and watched. That is not true. I literally went back and watched, and I never had my hands crossed because you were making me think I was insane.
So that kind of threw you off a little bit.
Eddie had his hands crossed at one point.
At the beginning of the show, you got both like
2 tense, you feel?
Very tense. You closed me off.
I wasn't nervous. Maybe, okay, because I was like legitimately, like, am I doing it? Because I know I start out like this, and I was like, how did my hands get to here? So maybe but I thought I went back and looked and I didn't see it.
It's just, you seem
I had it like this.
when you're open. Don't close me off.
Did I seem very nervous?
No.
Okay.
As the show
Okay.
progressed, no.
Okay.
Yeah, you did warm up as it progressed, yeah.
I was like, well, how do I keep doing this?
It happened. You did great. Other than that, you did great.
Thank you.
You're very seamless.
split the leads up more. And if we had, Sophia hasn't mentioned this yet as targeted as I hope she would, but maybe she will. About, remember when we talk about there's information and then there's impact. And sometimes you guys did such a great job getting the information that maybe every story didn't have like that human element. A lot of them did, but maybe some were missing. We talk about, that we think that humor is the only thing that allows us to interact or to relate to one another and to the audience. But our human heart and human brain is capable of a gamut of emotion. I mean, I'm not suggesting y'all sit around and cry on each other's shoulders or anything. That'd be weird. Anyway. But there is a whole gamut of emotion available to human beings. So with the right writing, if you can keep in mind the impact to the human being out there, you will come up with appropriate repartee. If you're able to take Olivia's lead and talk about and both of you talk about, the impact that guns have had in our schools, you can be relatable with information. It doesn't always have to be like, gee, how can we kind of laugh and show ourselves? You guys aren't one-trick ponies. You're so much more.
Mic drop. Yeah, Olivia, I love that you did change that lead to address FSU, and then you kind of just took it in the direction that you went. And you've had spent a lot of time there, is what you said. And I think that we talked about this, just maybe having that more human angle would have really nailed that story, because it had the potential of being a very emotional story. I don't even live around here, and that happened, and I remembered it, and I know that it affected me and affected all of the schools in my area. Really, really good job, though, of still making sure that you gave us the information. The sound bites, I know that guy was talking forever. It felt like, but he said like 10 words. So, with people like that, I think you can just cut them off a little bit, and it's fine. But I like how you wrote into video when it first began. You showed us the ribbons and things like that. That did kind of pull me in. As far as like people are very still dealing with this, but I would have liked to hear them actually dealing with it. Yeah.
So what questions do you have for Sophia? Because I know some of you are thinking, this is a job for me. And some of you are going, anything but this. She's ruined it for me forever. And some of you are like, meh. So please ask questions.
I have a question. And Olivia and I kind of talked about this, but, and I don't think we ever got around to asking, because we also were running out of time. But I'm from Tallahassee. I grew up going to FSU games. Like a lot of my friends go to FSU, and we were playing around with the idea of bringing me talking about it. Where is the we didn't know though, where is the line of an anchor getting personal with a story? Because I feel like they're showing emotion is one thing, but also talking about personal experiences is another.
Yeah, I think that, in my opinion, is if you have any direct relations or were impacted in some way. So if there was a hurricane that came by, and it came by your neighborhood, and it ruined stuff in your neighborhood, that is an opportunity to talk about that. To say, hey, this is happening, my family's going through this right now. I can't imagine what home would even look like right now. I think that is a fine, that's okay. But if it's just to kind of make, kind of fill in the moment and fill in the gaps, I think that it's stretching, and the viewers will feel that too. Pleasure.
Any other questions? Does anybody want to hear how a news source /broadcast/digital
Oh my gosh.
educational course might help you in whatever you choose to do, or hurt you? I don't know. Would anybody like to know that? No? Yes.
Whatever you do, go into news, okay? It is the foundation of everything I've ever done, and it has set me apart from everyone. So you're thinking like, you have a clothing brand, how did news make you successful? It gave me all the press that I needed. I mean, I've been featured in Vogue, I've been featured in all the magazines, CBS Mornings, I met Gayle King, like we had a feature there, and that's just because I know how to pitch myself, and I know what stories that, you know, they want to hear. So you can use news for everything, and if anything, you always know how to spin a story, and you know how to spin your career, spin a resume, spin a pitch, yeah.
Anything else? Okay, well, we thank you all for joining us tonight. Yay! Thank you.
Y'all are